We got more shenanigans in Chicago. Chicago Democrat sues the city over plans to turn a community park into a migrant shelter. I don't see what the problem is, right? Oh, let's get into it. Here we go.
We're watching you.
Yeah.
We are disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
We are angry.
Yes.
We are offended.
Mm-hmm.
And we feel like we're being mistreated, misused. Democratic Party, we're watching you.
Yeah.
We are disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
We are angry.
Yes.
We are offended.
Mm-hmm.
And we feel like we're being mistreated, misused, and disrespected.
Yeah.
We will not continue to be disrespected
That's
by
right.
the Democratic Party. As I said yesterday, and
You
I'll say
voted 'em in.
today and tomorrow, if you're an independent candidate, Green Party candidate, Republican candidate, now is your time in this city.
Joining us now, the Chicago resident you just heard there, Kata Truss. Kata, it's really great
She's
to
the one
have
that
you.
threw up the
Tell
lawsuit.
me what you are frustrated about specifically.
Well, one of the things that I'm frustrated about is the fact that the Biden administration is not handling the migrant crisis in a way that it is good for them or the cities that the migrants are being sent to. I certainly.
Or the southern border states. How about that? Right? We seem to forget that this has been going on for years, literally years. Now, all of a sudden, 2020, late 2023, 2024. Oh, hey, Abbott sends a handful of buses. I can't take it. Couldn't take it before. You weren't able to take care of your
don't
own
want
people.
to demonize the migrants because not a lot of what is happening is their
Sidewalk.
fault. I think that
Chicago.
our mayor, our governor,
Horrible.
as well as President Biden, has to step in and make some changes to what is happening right now. Right now, it seems as if our borders are just open and that people are freely coming in and that there are no laws that are being followed in terms of immigration. And so
Except
what
by
is
Greg
happening
Abbott.
here in Chicago is that we are seeing our city spend up to $48 million a month to house and take care of migrants. Now, when you talk about the Black communities here in the city of Chicago, and you talk about the years of disinvestment in our communities, in our schools, and all around us, and you see this amount of money being spent to people who have come from outside of this country, that is a problem for us. And I think that one of the reasons I got
Rightfully
involved
so.
in this is because when you talk about coming into the Austin community, a community that has already been blighted and disinvested in, and talking about one of the major crown jewels of the community, you're talking about taking it away from the community to house migrants
Talking about the
at
park
a time where
that they
we're
sued
seeing
over.
increased crime because our children don't have things to do. They don't have jobs. And we're seeing this money being spent, and it's being spent on other people in communities that could really benefit for that money. Here in Chicago, I was sitting in a meeting with the Board of Education, and they talked about a $391 million shortfall that they're going to have this upcoming year. And when you look at the money that has been spent on the migrants, you know, we have a problem with that. And I heard someone say earlier,
I've talked about that multiple times. You've got budgets that are decreasing. And so all this extra money going to the migrants, that's going to come right from the taxpayers funding all of this.
that here in Chicago, we're talking about turning away from the Democratic Party. I have already turned. I will be voting Republican this time around. And I don't think that that's just the sentiment of Kata Truss. I think that's the sentiment of a lot of people around the entire United States. And basically, you know, for years, the Democratic Party has taken our vote for granted, and they feel that they can continue to ignore us, not support us, not give us the things that we need in our communities, and we're going to continue to vote for them. We are not our grandparents. We're different. And when we see that you don't have our best interests at heart, we're going to go elsewhere. Okay. I'm going elsewhere.
She is.
Kata, that's a big statement. If President Biden were listening right now, or the White House was listening, what would you tell them to try to get your vote back?
I don't know that they can get my vote back. I think that one of the biggest problems with this whole situation is when this started, I called my congressman, I called my step representative, I called my state senator, I called our county commissioner, and I tried to sit down to meet with them. I even called our mayor, and I wanted to sit down and talk to them to find out if there was just something that I was missing, if there was some information that I needed in order to make me sit comfortably with what was happening. And nobody had time to sit down with me. Nobody had time to meet with me to discuss this issue. And so as important as this issue has become to the Black community, and the fact that our mayor, who I know, whom I supported, whom I donated money to his campaign, has not bothered to pick up the phone and to call me and to talk to me about what's happening.
He's too busy being hospitalized for panic attacks. I mean, legit.
Is a slap in the face for me. And so, no, I cannot support people who will not support me and my community.
Kata Truss, Kata, thank you very much for joining us. Again, as I said at the top,
What do you say to that?
Chicago are saying enough is enough when it comes to Biden's migrant crisis.
So in Chicago, illegal immigrants get laundry services, mental health screenings, housing subsidies, and a government ID.
So what Governor Greg Abbott of Texas is doing is having this magnifier effect on these other cities that all of a sudden are like, wait a minute, we got a big budget deficit here. You're going to spend $300 million. You're going to spend $400 million. Let's Go Brandon Johnson literally this past week met with 25 mayors of his suburban communities because he's looking for money. He's looking for them to house people. And most of those communities are like, no, you're the one that's the sanctuary city. You deal with it. Let's Go Brandon Johnson. And his way of dealing with it is literally to have a panic attack because there's no good solutions for this. Chicago's taken in 33,000, I think. And let's be honest, before this whole thing started, they were behind the eight ball. Not enough money, disinvestment in communities. I mean, none of this is new, right? You know, hey, Jackass lists 400, 500, 600 murders a year. I mean, yeah, the Windy City. It's got its own set of problems, and this really exacerbates it. And then when the city says, oh, you know what, that really nice park of yours, yeah, we're going to need to take that over. We're going to need to put, a migrant center and spend some money on it. I'm sure you guys will work out another place to play ball. They're hopping mad. I don't blame them. So this individual, she talked about the Black community. We are hearing the same thing from the Latino community. Hey, Biden administration things aren't going well under them. We did pretty good under Trump, and this isn't working out for us. And so the whole Democratic, angle of, oh, we're always going to have the Black vote. We're always going to have the minority Hispanic vote. We're always going to, are we seeing the tide turn on that? We're certainly hearing sound clips. We're hearing sound bites about that. Whether that becomes reality, can the Republicans snatch defeat from the jaws of victory? That's what I always keep hearing. Because remember how that red wave was supposed to happen last time, and you watch the results, and you're like, that's no wave. That's not even. It's not a tsunami. That's not even a trickle. We went sideways, if not backwards, in that election. Frustrated Chicago Democrat calls for Windy City's sanctuary city status to be scrapped because funds for low-income locals are being divested into worsening the migrant crisis. Because Let's Go Brandon Johnson self-proclaimed we're a sanctuary city. And then all of a sudden, oh, yeah, now they're in hot water. Chicago's in hot water because they're housing migrants by the hundreds in a couple of their airports. And that might not be legal. Federal funding dictates you don't have people living there. Shenanigans, I say. Let's take a little peek see at shenanigans. Oh, by the way, let's go, Brandon Johnson. Yeah, you need to move all those people out of that federal facility that you're using for your city migrant housing. I mean, yeah. A Democrat who successfully sued Chicago to block a local park being turned into a migrant shelter wants the city's sanctuary status revoked. I don't blame them. This is not their battle. Their battle's in their home turf, and it's just surviving half the time in Chicago, right? Truss, a government employee in the Chicago neighborhood of Austin, complained too much money was being spent on migrant immigrants. Agreed. But also got to remember, you voted who you voted in, and they ran on a progressive platform. We're talking about, let's go, Brandon Johnson. He ran on a progressive platform. You knew what you were getting. When it came to issues like this, you knew he was very transparent. In his defense, he's doing exactly what the people of Chicago who voted him in expected him to do. And we wouldn't expect anything else. He's not like John Fetterman of Pennsylvania, who has a stroke and has a come to Jesus moment. And then all of a sudden he's talking rationally. He's making sense. Did that guy become a Republican post stroke? I mean, you don't want to make fun of somebody's, and I know he's dealt with depression, and his mind just got rocked. He literally had a stroke and he had to rework himself, and he's coming back from that. But as he's coming back, he's like making sense. He's talking anti-immigration. Like, what happened to that dude? That was a wild one, right? Chicago is struggling to care for more than 34,000 asylum seekers bussed in from the border by Texas Governor Greg Abbott. He's just doing work. It's over the past 18 months. So what it's come to is these illegals have just, they're layering up. All the housing's full. Oh my gosh, we got more coming in. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? You're going to panic because your airports are full. Your police departments are full with illegal immigrants. All of your basic civic services now are housing illegal immigrants. And why? Well, because your mayor said that you're a sanctuary city and he welcomed them all in. And so, right, they want to go there. Abbott's going to pay for a bus. Send them. The city has spent $156 million on the crisis and still has 14,200 migrants in its 28 shelters and is fighting with the state of Illinois about where to build more. Surprised they're not building in a nuclear site or some kind of toxic site or, in the red light district. Just send them there. It'll be fine. Shelters and converted warehouses were filled to the brim with new arrivals living in poor conditions, leading to the city commandeering other venues. So this lady was able to basically sue the city, and now the city is saying, you know what? This field house at Amidst Park in Austin, where local youth are kept out of trouble playing football and kids going to daycare, don't think that we want to have a migrant facility there. It's kind of like a homeless encampment, right? But everybody on the left was just so in love with taking in the homeless until they weren't. Yeah, same deal. But it happened so much faster with the illegal immigrant situation because they got dumped. They're coming. They're literally being exported. They're being imported in, right? From Texas. Texas is exporting. Handwriting the lawsuit in a notebook, she argued the field house was designated for recreational use within the community and nothing else. Kind of like an airport is dedicated to flying people in a secure manner. But now you've got hundreds, if not thousands of illegals living there. You don't know who they are, but tax-paying American citizens, when they go to fly, I flew last weekend, you got to provide an ID. You got to have a plan. You got to be who you say you are. You got to go through security. You got to go through a metal detector. I mean, and these folks are just going to live in the airport. It'll be fine. City officials later abandoned the plan and say that they have no plans to turn Amidst Park into a migrant shelter. So this woman, she did work. She did work. Good for her. Just say no. The problem is you voted the wrong way. But you wouldn't have known that. In most situations, your Democrat run city, it's just going to be, another blue crap hole, but it's not going to have these kind of issues. So you've really turned up the spotlight on the lack of leadership in these blue cities. Now, Truss wants Chicago residents to stop paying for more migrants as thousands more are bussed in and start turning them away. That's next level, right? That's next level. You are already seeing that in New York City. There is a eviction. There's eviction notices, 30 days for individuals and then 60 days for families, unless you're pregnant, you have a baby, and then you get to stay until your kid is 6 months old. But what's going to happen is, this is in Chicago. Same story. It's going to be on a first come, first serve. So Chicago is not building any more migrant centers. In fact, they're kicking people out, and only the new people can take the spots of the old ones that left. So yeah, that's how they're kind of stemming the flow. So all the new folks moving into town, they either got to wait in line or live on the streets. That's what they're doing. They're living in tents in the middle of winter in Chicago. That cannot be pleasant. Welcome to America. There is no money to take care of the migrants, nor is there money to take care of the people that are there. And so we have a mess on our hands, she told Fox News. This is a sentiment from the city of Chicago. We would like to have our status as a sanctuary city removed. We would also like to see a better plan in place. Well, I think the vast majority, there's let's go Brandon Johnson. Let's just look at him for a little bit. Look at him. He is a smooth dresser. I got to give him now. He's a smooth dresser. He's got it going. Look at that smile. That guy, that's Samuel L. Jackson there, right? Without the gray and the beard, but that gives him a little bit of legitimacy. The pointed haircut. I know it's trendy and it's hip and whatnot, but let's go. Brandon Johnson has done such a poor job of leadership in the Windy City that it doesn't surprise me that these folks are just bad. You got anybody that's independent we might vote for? How about the Republican Party? Who you guys running? Because we might throw it in with them. Anybody but the Democrat Party, which is just taking an enormous dump on its own constituents. Hey, don't worry about it. We're just going to throw up a migrant center here. I know you played a lot of, sports and whatnot, but you got to take care of these illegals. I mean, they're coming in by the thousands. That border is, I don't know if you know this, that border is not closed. That's where we sit. So this situation isn't going away anytime soon. Federal government basically has to side with Texas and say, all right, we got to stop this flow of humanity into that southern border. Otherwise, this is not going to go well for us. And it already hasn't. You're already seeing the end results of maybe we'll think about a different candidate, something without a D in front of it, right? We're not gonna get the D on this one. All right, that's it for me on this one. Thanks so much for being here. If you found this content entertaining, love to have you as a subscriber, all that jazz. You know what to do. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.